I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone out to our meeting tonight. It's always nice to see faces and see everyone in person. We're going to go ahead and have a roll call. If Kim would go ahead and give that for us.
Yes, ma'am. President Galbraith.
Present.
Vice President Morgan. He's en route. He'll be here shortly. Secretary Scott.
Present.
Board Member Tripp.
Here.
Board Member Tyler.
Present.
You have a quorum 4-0.
All right. Thank you so much, Kim. To get us started tonight, we have some introductory comments by our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Visu Cleveland.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being with us this evening. And we're learning new technology tonight, so please give us a little bit of slack as we learn this new system. We love it. The cameras are sharp, and it's really nice to be able to see everything that's going on. Thank you. Oh, I did it right after you told me not to. I pushed it.
I did the same thing, so you're okay.
But anyway, I what I was saying is, before we get started, how much we like our new system. We're learning a new system. And so give us a little bit of flexibility as we learn how to use it. But it's so clear. The cameras are great. The sound quality is good. So we thank you, Paul, and his department. And we have someone here tonight. Would you like to introduce the person that's with you tonight from ACOM? Okay, thank you for being with us. But he's been part of this project, and so but we're just really glad that it's moved along. There's still, as I understand, a few things still to come in that we're still waiting. Certainly the supply chain continues to be a challenge in a lot of things, but it's great to have this for not only for us here, but particularly for our community who listens in and can see and hear. So we're just really pleased to have this project moving along. Okay, first slide, please. One of the important topics that the board will be talking about is the redistricting of board districts. That's required every year, every 10 years after the census. And of course, as you well know, the last census was held in 2021. And the goal, of course, is to ensure that all districts are relatively equal in population. And Michael Sharp will address that in a little more detail. The board has had time to review all the requirements, as well as looking at the current district maps and possibly some changes that are to be considered. And the maps in the back of the room are some different options that have been proposed. The board will be discussing those. In addition, I would want you to know that the board members have come in individually, spent a great deal of time looking at those maps and asking questions, are really pretty well informed about the different options that are available to them, give a lot of time and effort and thought to that. In the past, the board has provided at least 2 options. Some years it's been 3. I think one year it was 4. They'll put them out for public comment and or review, because the board has always wanted the community to have a chance to look at those maps, certainly weigh in and offer any comments and suggestions that they would like to. So that will be available. We'll be letting the public know when they can come and take a look at the maps. The board contracted with Research and Polling to provide the technical assistance in the redistricting process. And so we really appreciate all of the help and support that Michael Sharp has given us. And not only providing just technical assistance, one of the really important roles that he plays is ensuring that the district complies with all of the requirements for this process. I've had a few calls, not many, but I had a few, on people wanting to know if this would change their attendance boundaries where their children would go to school. This will have no bearing whatsoever on school attendance boundaries, and it will not change those regardless of the map that is chosen. Suzanne Nguyen, who is our Executive Director of Federal Bilingual and Native American Programs, will present to the board the 2022-23 application for the board's review and approval this evening. She will share a proposed budget, but more importantly, we'll talk to the board about the programs and activities that this application provides and benefits the students in the Rio Rancho Public School District. It provides things we could not provide without the funding. And so this is an important application, and she will share the specifics with you this evening. And then Lauren Hatch, who is the Chief Counsel for the Rio Rancho Public School District, will present the policy changes for the board's review and comment. Remind the board that this is the second reading, and therefore the board will be asked to vote on the proposed changes. I wanted to hit just a few highlights about budget. Several Rio Rancho Public School staff members attended the spring budget workshop last week, and it was worth attending. They did provide some additional clarification on some of the financial issues that the district has been concerned about. However, there's still some things that are not finalized yet, and we're still waiting to get some information on. We also, as part of this, I want to just take this opportunity to thank the legislative delegation, the executive, and others for their commitment to improving funding for public education in this session. And so it was a considerable increase, but with increases often comes mandates. And so we are very pleased to have the additional funding. We are already seeing, on a really positive note, and Michael Chavez is here and has commented on this, we're already seeing some improvement in both recruitment and retention of staff for the current vacancies as a result of the improvements in the compensation package for staff. So we're really beginning to see that make a difference, and we are really thankful to the legislature and to the executive for this increase in funding. Okay, however, there are some concerns, and there are, as there always are with any budget, we're concerned about some of the increases in fixed costs. For example, the education retirement system, health insurance has gone up, utilities are going up very rapidly, and so some of those fixed costs are going to present a challenge for this budget. One of the areas that we are really concerned about is instructional materials. We certainly are not receiving, as of now, enough funding that it would be sufficient for completing an adoption of the new state materials. And this is really important. And not only, is it, we're not going to be able to do it, it's an English language arts adoption, one of the most important that we make. And we're considerably short. And we know the state is continuing to look for ways to fund that. But you can't really, it's really hard to do a partial adoption, because you have, each adoption, and you've had that presentation by Joy Morales and Todd Rush and others, all the materials are aligned. So you can't do K3 and then switch to an old system in 4 and 5. You want a complete package. In addition, the new materials are better aligned to the standards, have a lot of enhancements that we think will really be helpful to our students. So we're hoping the state is going to be able to find enough money to be able to support a full adoption, but it's considerable shortfall. It's not like it's close. There's a lot of, there's quite a bit of money across the state to find. I would also, just want to add that the funding of instructional materials was one of the key points of the Yazzie Martinez lawsuit, and that the state was to pay for instructional materials. And some of us that were there, Judge Singleton gave a rather impassioned comment about the need for good materials and good tools for kids to do well. So I'm really hopeful that and I know they're working hard to try to find it. Transportation continues to be underfunded. And this is, it's bad. It's been bad for quite a while. But now that is compounded by the increasing fuel prices, and specifically diesel fuel is going up very rapidly. We were really hopeful that they were going to take some action during the special session to remedy that, and in fact thought that was going to happen, but it did not. So now the hope and focus will be that there will be some kind of action taken during the regular session beginning in January to make up the shortfall for districts. But the shortfall in that area is significant for the district. And then the last comment is just the basic thing of whether or not they set sufficient funding to cover all the mandated increases in compensation and to pay for the extended school year. So Mike and his team are continuing to work on the budget. Got some of the key questions answered last week, but are continuing to work on that. We'll be reporting that to the board fairly soon. Some of you were able to make, Noreen was there, Amanda was there. We had a really large crowd that attended the Innovation Day at the new CTE building. And this, of course, is an event that the Rio Rancho Regional Chamber holds every year, and it's called Innovation Day. And normally, this event is held during the session in Santa Fe, but because of COVID and all of the challenges, they decided not to do it. So we did it in Rio Rancho. And I thought it was really nice to do. They had a lot of the businesses in Rio Rancho that are doing innovative things that were there and sharing that information. One of the nice things that I would want you to know for the district was that we received 2 of these big, huge symbolic kinds of checks. One was from Sandoval County, and we were very appreciative of the Sandoval County Commission funding efforts towards CTE. And then our legislative delegation kind of all got together and pooled the money that they had that came this year to each state senator or representative to also present a check to the district for CTE programs. And so we really thank both of them for their effort, and every little bit helps, and we continue to try to build the funds that we need for CTE. But we do appreciate their efforts and thank them very much for those contributions. And I stand for any questions or any comments or anything from the board.
Okay, Gary Tripp, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, and welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
No comments, no questions.
Okay, Jessica Tyler. Okay, Noreen Scott.
Yes, I would like to thank SEA and the Chamber of Commerce for really doing a wonderful job in highlighting our hopes and plans for CTE. They've both been instrumental in helping us, along with the committee that has been working over the last few months to help us vision that. And I really am grateful to all the community that's participated. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to echo that sentiment too. We're so grateful for everything that, it's wonderful to have sat in that and to see that our legislators are listening to us. They asked me how much more we need, and we had a little discussion that we need a lot more. And so, I just hope that our community can continue to help us with those needs so we can get that CTE building off the ground and running for our students. I think everyone is very, very excited for it. I have one more question for you, Dr. Cleveland. As far as the transportation, just since you mentioned it, I just have had a lot of parents who have reached out to me just even in the last week, and people are always reaching out about transportation, but what are some things that they can do specifically to help us in this? Is there something that our parents can do, different people that they could reach out to that might be helpful for us to receive the funds and things that we need? I feel for our families. I know that students are being picked up late and we are all doing, the best that we can, but what are some things that our parents could do to help?
I think one of the things that they could definitely do is to write to the governor and write to the Secretary of Education and continuing to talk to any legislators that they know outside of Rio Rancho, because you don't get anything done alone, obviously, working with other districts. And so to keep that issue in front of people who make those decisions, I think is really important. And, it's amazing. We've seen over the last several years, a letter to the governor or to the speaker or whatever, you think, oh, it won't matter. Sometimes it matters a lot. And they will jump on that issue, and they like hearing from constituents and particularly parents. So I would encourage them to write to decision makers in state government to let them know what it looks like for their kids every day. The other option is, we're looking at some other options as well. Both instructional materials and transportation were part of the Yazzie Martinez decision. And so we believe there's a really good reason that, the state needs to continue to work to resolve those. And it has resolved many of the issues in the lawsuit. So I want to definitely say that. The two areas where we're still short are materials and transportation. The other thing, this year in transportation, there are more districts than ever before that are finding themselves upside down in terms of funding for transportation. The number is continuing to grow now. So we really need to take a look at that and see if we can't get it resolved. One other thing I should have also mentioned about funding for CTE was the fact we met today with CNM to try to continue the conversations to see if there's a partnership that can be worked out between them that would help both achieve their goals. And so that's an ongoing conversation. And then my last comment and I'm sorry, Noreen, I'm so glad you mentioned SEA because they played a key role in that event as well. They said it was the largest gathering of people since before COVID in Rio Rancho. So it was a nice crowd. The parking lot was packed. And it was just nice to see people in the community who really care about this issue. Really, it's amazing in this day and time when there's so many contentious things. We have not received, maybe after this I will get one, but have not received one negative comment about CTE. Not one person has written and said this is not a good thing to do. So we hope that we can come together as community and make that a reality for our students and our community, as well as adult education. Would be a wonderful thing to be able to utilize that building for adult education as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Anyone else, any further comments okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Cleveland, I appreciate it. Okay, moving on to item E, to approve the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations. Any changes that need to take place on the agenda or a motion?
It's Board Member Jeff Morgan. I make a motion to approve the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations.
This is Board Member Noreen Scott, and I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Morgan and a second by Secretary Scott. And I forget we're in person, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, Kim, did we receive any? Do we have any in-person public comment? Okay, thank you. We do. So for our public comment, we did receive one public comment through our online form, and I will read that out now. We received one public comment from Troy Steinbert. We were talking about transportation. His is on transportation and the bus driver shortage that we have. Has kids at both Rio Rancho Middle School and Cielo Azul Elementary, and that their bus has been late for the last few weeks. And they just would like for us to talk more about this as a district and would like to know if they can know in advance so that they can get their kids to school on time. And that is our only public comment. For those who are desiring to give public comment, we would love to have you in person here in our boardroom. You can also go to the Rio Rancho board page, Public Schools board page, and leave your comment there. We do read each and every one of those, and we summarize them here in our meeting, and we love to receive the public comment. For our next item is to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion that needs to take place on the consent or any questions?
No, this is Board Member Noreen Scott. I move that we approve the consent agenda. I have a question of Lauren. Do we need to identify ourselves if we're in live, or can I just make a motion and assume that you know who I am?
President Secretary Scott, the guidance that was given by the Attorney General's office under pandemic conditions and we were holding virtual meetings required that the member who's speaking identify themselves. I think it's a good practice even when you're in a public meeting because it's not allowed.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I second him.
For you.
There's good habits that we've made. There's good habits. Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Noreen Scott and a second by Jeff Morgan. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay. Moving into our business, our first item A, is to consider the approval of the 3/14/2022 unapproved regular meeting minutes. Did anyone see any changes that need to take place on those minutes? Or any discussion? Would someone like to give us a motion?
Board, go ahead.
This is Board Member Jessica Tyler. I'd like to make a motion to approve the unapproved regular meeting minutes from 3/14 of 2020.
Do we have a
Board
second?
Member Gary Tripp, second.
So we have a motion by Jessica Tyler, a second by Gary Tripp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It's kind of nice not doing constant roll call votes. Okay. Moving into B. So this is our preliminary consideration of board redistricting scenarios. And so tonight we have both Beth Pendergrass, our Chief Communications Strategy Engagement Officer here, as well as Michael Sharp from Research and Polling, and Kim Besley, our Assistant to the Superintendent. To get us started, we did have a meeting prior to this one where we discussed each of those, each of the different options. And as Dr. Cleveland stated too, we came in one-on-one with the district and went over those different scenarios. So to kind of just get us started, I'm just going to go right into the board and ask if they have any questions of those that we have here. I'm going to start actually with Jeff Morgan, just because you didn't have a chance to get to ask some of the questions that you had. Before he gets going, I just since we have people here on YouTube, we have the opportunity with the 2020 census to be able to do some redistricting and balance the populations in our districts. And so that is what we are doing tonight. So Jeff Morgan, go ahead.
President Galbraith, I don't have any questions. I actually had the privilege and the opportunity of coming in earlier last week, I should say, to meet with Ms. Kim Besley, and went very well. I don't have any questions. But if we're going to decide tonight, I think I'm okay, whatever you guys decide.
Okay, so we'll go over kind of what we're, maybe we'll just run over to Michael Sharp real quick. Is there anything you want to add before we start kind of going into more discussion?
Thank you, President Galbraith. No, nothing really to add. Just for those who are in the audience, this redistricting happens once every 10 years, and it's based on the latest census data, so Census 2020, and data came out last year. The state requires the board to redistrict in this calendar year, and we're just rebalancing the districts such that every district has the same number of people, present a number of different options, different perspectives on redistricting, following all the legal constitutional requirements of redistricting, including equal population, voting rights, contiguity, and compactness. And so we had some nice discussions. We've had presentations in the past. This is probably the third time I've been before the board, and we're here to answer questions from the board. And so I'm here to answer more if you have them. Thank you.
Madam
Go ahead.
I just was wondering, while we're communicating about the redistricting, if Kim wouldn't mind just scrolling through them so
Yeah.
people in the audience can see them, and maybe during our comments gives Board Member Morgan a little bit more insight what we talked about.
Yeah, so to kind of recap what we were talking about in our work session earlier today. So we have, it's really 7 options, right, Michael? Like that we have, because there's a B1 that goes with B.
We have 6 options: A, B, B1, C, D, and E.
Okay. I'm just looking at because we have one up there that's our current one. So I'm just I'm like, did I count the maps wrong behind you? Okay. So we have 6 options. And so the ones that we were looking at, and so if we want to pull up these ones in our board workshop, where E, B, and D are the 3 that we were kind of initially looking at. And so if we want to pull up maybe one of those, you can pull it.
You bet. So we had, the first one is B. We'll just take them in alpha order. How's that?
Okay. And do you want to just go over, why don't you just go over B with us one more time, and we'll look at each of those three, I think is, and then if Vice President Morgan wants to add one in on those, and we can add one in on those. So, or ask questions. So.
Sounds good. Thank you. So I'll try to do a brief description of each and maybe concentrate on the changes from what you have today. And so up on the screen, you'll see in the black and white dashed lines are your current boundaries. And with the color theming, those will be the colors of the districts in this proposed Plan B. And just to set the stage a little bit, when we looked at the population of the current districts with respect to the 2020 census, District 5 ended up having too many people, so it needed to lose population. And District 4 had too few people. It had to gain population. District 3 had too many as well. And so it needed to shrink one. I'm sorry. Let me hold on 1 second, please.
I have a question for you really quick. Do you mind if I turn it over to?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify. It's actually District 5 didn't need to change, but District 1 is the one that we needed to trim, and District 3.
I can pull
Right.
those up.
Thank you, President Galbraith, and Board Member Tyler is just confirming that. So sorry for the confusion because I knew I was misstating it. So District 1 had too many people. District 4 had too few people. District 3 had too many. And Districts 2 and 5 theoretically had just about the right amount. And so that kind of sets the stage. So we have to make some changes. And B is a plan that kind of stays relatively close to what you have today. And with respect to, if we start with District 4, the one that has to grow and add population, in this one, it added some population on its kind of northwestern side. And so you can see that this area here to the left of Fairway and to the west of Fairway, between Spring and Fairway and then Unser. So that area moved from District 2 to District 4. So that helped District 4 a little bit, added some population to 4, it needed it. District 3, it added some population from District 3 as well. This is between Golf Course and Grande, almost to 528, south of 19th. And so that went into District 4 as well. Adding that population into 4 from 3 helped District 3, which was too big. And so it needed to shrink a little bit as well. So we kind of killed a couple birds with one stone there with respect to 4 and 3. Even though 2 didn't necessarily have to change, it did lose population to 4. One reason for that is because by keeping 4 south of the Arroyo, didn't have to cross into Loma, Colorado and potentially split that neighborhood. So that's one benefit of keeping 4 south of the Arroyo. Because District 2 did lose some population on a southeastern corner, it had to add something else. And so by doing so, it moved to the west to north of Arkansas and over to Idalia. So this one precinct and population moved from District 3 to District 2 because 2 needed to add it because it lost some population on its southeastern side. Additionally, it needed to add a little bit more and help with District 5. So one of the things that we did was we took District 2 north into Northern Meadows up to King Boulevard. So Northern Meadows now has 2 board members in this plan. And it also adds the population north and south of Paseo del Volcan near Cleveland High School. And so District 2 does scoot north. It does look that this is one precinct that kind of goes up and around and goes all the way down to Idalia. But really all the population is north and south of Paseo del Volcan within, a quarter mile. So Cleveland Heights, right around Cleveland High School, there's very, very little people, very few, if any, in the northern part of this purple area. So it may look like a large area, but the population lives in the southern part near that District 2 label with the deviation number. And so when you're looking at the maps, you see the District 2 number, and for example, District 2 has a negative 2.24. That means it's 2.24% below its ideal population, below the perfect population, if you will. And as long as every district is within plus or minus 5%, the districts are considered equal in population in the eyes of the courts and the law. And so we don't have to get right on the nose. We just have to get within plus or minus 5%. So District 5 lost some population north of Paseo del Volcan in Northern Meadows, and it had to go into District 1 on the northern side. So right now, District 5 and District 1 split Enchanted Hills along Enchanted Hills Boulevard. And so this particular plan, it shows you an option that includes all of Enchanted Hills into a single district, and that would be District 5. And it removes that population from District 4. So 4, it did have to lose population. It lost it on its northern end. There's a lot of changes with respect to District 5, though it didn't necessarily have to change. It did because of other districts impacting it due to other changes. And so that's Plan B in a nutshell, and how it differs from what you have today.
Okay. Any questions on this one? So, Vice President Morgan, so all we were looking at in our first one is just narrowing it down, and we'll look at these other two, is just narrowing it down to the B, D, and E for the members of the community to talk about. We haven't voted on anything yet. So if you don't like those plans or you feel like a different one should come in, so please feel free to kind of add those ones in. But I thought we'd just kind of show you some of the ones that we were looking at the workshop before we voted. But then if you want to add in something else or have questions on anything, please feel free to do that. Okay.
Kim did a very good job
Okay.
explaining it to me and walking me through, and
Okay.
so I'm okay with everything.
Okay. Okay. So that was B. If we want to go ahead and take a look at D. And if anyone else has anything to add in too, please feel free.
Thank you, President Galbraith. So this is a Plan D. This took a different approach. You can see how the districts in the color theme are different than what the board districts look like today. So there's a decent amount of changes. This was just to take, primarily driven by the southern part of the city and the arrangement of districts 3 and 4 south of the Arroyo, Cross Heights, both sides of 528 out to Cabazon. And so what happens is District 4, today it includes Cross Heights, north and south of Sarah. And instead of going south of Southern, District 4 just starts at 528, goes west, staying between the Arroyo and Southern, and extends west to Bahama and Arquebec, south of Vidalia and north of Southern. And so it loses its population, west of 528, south of Southern, but adds a lot to the left, to the west of Nicholas and Fairway, I believe. And so it adds a lot of population to the west. So a decent amount of change, but it's a fairly compact district. District 3 is now a south of Southern district, goes up 528, up to the Arroyo, includes Corrales Heights and both sides of Sarah. So both sides of Sarah and Corrales Heights move from District 4 to District 3. Because District 3 gained so much population, it had to lose population on the other side. So on its western side, and District 3 used to go all the way up to between North Hills and Northern Meadows. And so now it has to lose a population. And so basically District 2 continues to take North Hills, and then it continues and it moves north to part of Northern Meadows. It's kind of the southern half of Northern Meadows. And then District 2 also scoots down to the county line, taking everything west of Districts 3 and 4. So District 1 stays north of the Arroyo, but because of population issues, it did have to go across the Arroyo and pick up some folks north of Abrazo, between Abrazo and the Arroyo. So it's scooted south. It still has too much population. So District 5 helps kind of solve that population issue as well. And it adds all of Enchanted Hills like we saw in the previous plan. It also does add some folks south of Paseo del Volcan around Sandia Vista Elementary School and Mountain View Middle School. It also had lost all that population in Northern Meadows, so it had to add something from somewhere. And so one of the places was up near 550 and Paseo del Volcan. It also scooted south on the north side of Vidalia down to Unser. So it adds some population south of its current boundary. So it's a different arrangement of Districts 3 and 4. The deviations are still within plus or minus 5%. So that's Plan D.
Okay. Any questions off of that plan? Okay. You want to go ahead and go on to Plan E?
Okay, Plan E is with respect to District 4's. We've kind of seen something like this already, where District 4 keeps its current alignment. It had to add population. It added the folks between Golf Course and Grande south of 19th. This one, District 4 does move north a little bit more than I think in B. So it does go into Loma, Colorado, splits Loma, Colorado, a couple precincts there. And then District 1, so it added some population from 1. 1 had to go into 5. It swapped a little bit in Enchanted Hills. So whereas today, Districts 1 and 5 split Enchanted Hills along Enchanted Hills Boulevard, now it's split along Paseo de Volcan. So the portion southeast of Paseo de Volcan is now in District 1, and northwest of Paseo de Volcan is now in District 5. District 3 is again a little bit different. Instead of going way north towards North Hills, it just stays as a compact district between the county line, goes up past Southern, and so adds a bunch of population between Southern and Idalia into District 3. So it added a population from District 2. And so kind of swapped with Districts 3. So District 2 and 3 kind of swapped some population. 3 went north into Dahlia, and 2 went south towards the county line. So it swapped between the two. An interesting thing about this particular plan is that when you look at the deviations, they're all pretty close to 0%. They're all within plus or minus 2% of the ideal population. So I believe that's, in a nutshell, Plan E.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm actually going to ask if Board Member Tyler wouldn't mind, you were good at kind of going through why we picked these 3. If you wouldn't mind just kind of giving those sentiments again.
Sure. So I liked Plan B just because I think it was the least amount of changes while still getting us closest to the percentage. I mean, Plan A was also minimal changes, but I felt like it didn't make enough change to kind of even out the population distribution amongst the districts. So I liked Plan B for that reason. I like Plan D because I think it's just geographically very clean lines and looks nice. And then I like Plan E because it has the most equal distribution of population, and I think it allows for the most movement in projected growth. And so if you're ready, I would be happy to make a motion.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or anything? Vice President Morgan, how do you feel? These are the 3 that we're looking at, just presenting to the public to kind of narrow down your thoughts, or is there anything you want to add in there? Any questions?
Yeah, no thoughts, no questions. I never told Kim what I was thinking, but this is pretty much along the same lines of what I was thinking as well.
Okay. Okay.
She asked me, but no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
She pressured you.
She told me not to tell her. I said, well,
Okay. Okay.
I honestly don't have a favorite child on this one.
Okay, Madam President, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to move board redistricting scenarios, Plan B as in boy, Plan D as in David, and Plan E as in Edward, forward for public comment.
This is Board Member Noreen Scott. I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? Gary Tripp, I didn't go over to you. Are you good with any other
good.
comments? Okay. Okay, so we have a motion by Jessica Tyler with a second I put in my notes second, but by Noreen Scott is what I meant to write down there. And if we could go ahead and take a roll call vote on this, Kim.
1, 2. Yeah, you may. Vice President Morgan,
yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the process of that, can I just ask Beth really quick, what you want to just give a real quick, the process of that going out?
Good evening, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. So what we'll do is we'll do another blast via our e-newsletter on the boundaries, and we'll attach the presentation from earlier today where Mr. Sharp went through each of those scenarios really well. We'll include that, and then we'll probably put the maps up. I like your suggestion of the library, so we'll reach out to the library to see if we can put those maps up there for public to review those. We'll give everyone the link to provide public comment via the website to the board. And we'll see if we get anything.
Sounds great. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
no
And yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
Can we just make sure that we only present the 3 plans that we voted to move forward so that the public doesn't
Yep.
become overloaded? Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you to Michael Sharp. It's been really nice working with you the last I guess few months now. And so this is the first time I think we've actually been able to meet with you in person though.
Great. Thank you, President Galbraith. It's great. So yeah, any questions that come up in the future, please feel free to contact us.
One thing I do think we need to bring up is the fact that our school district is larger than the city limits. And so it's important for people to understand when you look at the vastness of some of the districts, it's because much of that area is not populated. So I think it's important that we recognize that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Once again, thank you so much for all your hard work and everyone that's put in so much hard work. We appreciate it. So thank you. Okay. Oh, it feels great to be moving forward on it. Okay. So for our next item, make sure I'm in the right spot. We'll move into C. So for this one, we'll consider the approval of the 2022-2023 NMPED State Bilingual Multicultural Education Program funding applications. And so we have Suzanne Nguyen here, our Executive Director of Federal Bilingual and Native American Programs, here to present. Those are a lot of big words.
Madam President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland, thank you for your time tonight. As President Galbraith mentioned, I bring before you respectfully your consideration of approval for our state-funded bilingual multicultural education programs and annual application. We continue to have 5 schools with this program: Maggie Cordova Elementary, Puesta del Sol, Eagle Ridge Middle School, Rio Rancho High School, and Visu Cleveland High. At the schools, we offer dual language program models and heritage program models, as well as enrichment. And the 2 statutory goals of these programs continue for the students to become bilingual and biliterate in English and a language other than English, and in this case, Spanish, and also for the students to meet state academic content standards and benchmarks in all content areas. And I want to point out that this should not be confused with our vast and robust world language program, which also includes Navajo, French, German, Italian, Latin, American Sign Language, Mandarin, Chinese, and Spanish. And also, at the same time, we are working with Pueblo of Santa Ana to bring Keres language from the Pueblo to our students as well. But those programs are not included in the state-funded program. I stand for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. We'll start over on this side. Jessica Tyler, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Noreen Scott?
No, I'd just like to say thank you for the really good work that you've been doing. I've really been impressed. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Gary Tripp
I just echo it. Thank you so much.
and Jeff Morgan.
No questions. Thank you.
And then Dr. Cleveland, would you like to add anything?
Just thank you for your work on putting this together. But again, this brings our students a lot of really good things we would not be able to provide without it. And so thank you for your hard work in putting that together. But more importantly, for making these programs so successful across our district. It really helps our students be more successful in school. So again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to thank you too. I'm always grateful that you put so much work forth in doing these things for us. So with that, we'll go for a motion.
President Galbraith, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the 2022-2023 New Mexico Public Education Department State Bilingual Multicultural Educational Program funding applications.
This is Board Member Noreen Scott. I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Noreen Scott. And Kim, will you just go ahead and take a roll call vote for us on it?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. Okay. And for our next item, this will be our second reading of changes to Policy 300, Inspection of Public School Records. And we have Lauren Hatch, our Chief Counsel, here to discuss with us.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland. I'm Lauren Hatch, the Chief Counsel for the district. bringing back proposed changes to board policy 300 that were first read at our last board meeting. The draft that we're proposing for second reading and approval tonight has not changed from the version that was presented in the first reading. I would like to follow up on a question that board member Tripp had asked last time about whether we were accounting for the cost to copy, including the time of our employees in the fees. And I want to say, first of all, that the fees that we're proposing in this policy change is in line with what the Attorney General's office charges. And in looking at whether or not it's in line with what our actual cost is, I don't have enough data to tell you that at this time. It is very rare that we have a request for documents that we would produce it in a hard copy. They're almost 99.9% digital copies. I will, though, however, this year, as we get requests that are for hard copy versions, we'll pay attention to the time we use and the cost of materials, and maybe we would propose something different in the future. With that, I would recommend approval, and I certainly stand for any questions.
Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add anything before we go into?
I would just support what Lauren Hatch just said. I would go a little further than Lauren maybe in saying that I think that a lot of time and effort goes into some of these, and they're very time consuming. They take a lot of it. Oh, I just turned it off a minute ago. And I am terribly congested tonight, as you can tell. So my apologies. Those don't sound very good. I think that the time and effort that goes into many of these is far exceeds what we get back. A lot of time and effort goes in. We, of course, will comply with the requirements of the law. You know, it's important that we do that. But I do think it's important for people to know that sometimes they are very time consuming, and that's taxpayer money. And so, you know, it doesn't he doesn't cover it at all in my estimation, except for maybe the most routine ones. But certainly, our recommendation is always is to follow what the law requires and what the statute requires, and that's what we're committed to do. But I do think that it far exceeds what we get back in terms of time and the time that staff spends on some of these requests. So that, you know, you kind of wish your time would go for working with kids and being in buildings and doing some other things. But it is what it is. And so we certainly work through it the very best of our ability.
All right. Well, thank you. So do we have any questions? Gary Tripp, any questions? And Jeffrey Morgan?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any over here? Okay. With that, if someone would like to give a motion.
This is Board Member Jessica Tyler. I'd like to make a motion to adopt and approve the changes to Policy 300, Inspection of Public Records, as presented.
It's Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
Okay. We have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Jeffrey Morgan. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so as we get into our advanced planning, I'm not going to read through all of these dates, but please refer to your calendars. I will read through some of them. But just to really quickly, as we get into there, we are having a really difficult time getting our board retreat scheduled. And so as I was talking to Claudia just before, and if we could kind of figure out a good date to do that, and perhaps the summer is not the best time to do that, as we're getting closer into summer. We are doing a lot of things to work together, which helps us, which are some of the things that we talk about in the board retreat anyway. But are there days for everyone that are better, or would you rather us move it into August, our board retreat? I think June is pretty well booked for everyone. Just if anyone could just give us some idea so we can get that planned.
I'd like to see us do it in May. Can we do it May 13th? Can we do it the week of May 16th before graduations begin? Do either of those dates work for people?
So the only hard thing with doing that is we might not be able to find a venue, but we could do it here, right? We could do it here at the, okay.
I know the venue that Dr. Cleveland wanted has no openings on that day. I'm looking at another venue, but they have not returned my contact.
Okay. Okay. Both, go ahead.
Noreen, what were those dates?
May 13th and 16th, if we do it sooner rather than later. So
Or we could do it that next Friday, the 20th.
We have-
Did it before cyber graduation. Cyber graduation is am I correct? It's in the evening at 6 p.m. So we could have our retreat prior to that.
we could do, that might be difficult for our district staff who's working on graduations, right? That would be a lot.
It's really hard for staff.
Yeah.
I go and help.
Yeah. Okay.
I could help. I could make May
Okay.
16th work if that works for
What'd you
me.
say?
May 16th, I could make that work, I believe.
Mace, that's a Monday.
On Monday.
I'm good.
I could make May 16th work as well. I don't know how that works for the district if you want to get back to us. And we'll probably have to, I'm guessing, then be here. Well, so we're thinking evening then instead of a daytime meeting, I'm guessing, because
I can do that.
I could take, yeah, I mean,
Could
I
do
could
during
take
the
a
day?
day off if I need to, yeah,
during the day.
to do it during the day.
Okay. So would you be able to do it during the day meeting? Then we'd have to also look at Dr. Cleveland's calendar too. at some point. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look
You're a
at
traveling
space real
warrior.
quick.
Yeah, just lock it in. I'll adjust.
Okay. May 16th. And if we cannot get a venue for that, we could go ahead and do it here if we need to. But Dr. Cleveland, what do you think about that?
So May 16th on Monday, what
Mhm.
time would you want to start?
We could do it during the day. I think everyone's pretty open during the day if you want to
Completely.
decide
But
what would be good.
I can
Mhm.
change some things. So
Okay.
yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, would we do it in this building?
If-
Because there might be a challenge with space.
But we don't have to
But
do
I-
it here either. Yeah. Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, just boardroom 3. Yeah, we could do that for sure.
And if there is something else open, we could do somewhere else. But if we
can check
cannot,
and see if any
yeah.
of the venues. We never tried really hard on a Monday because it is a board day
Mhm.
and because we knew that Friday was the best day for Jessica. So we tried to work around that. If we can do Monday, we'll go back and check and see if any of the venues are open.
Okay.
Okay. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And if not, we can do it here. So
Okay. Jeff, are you going to be okay?
Yeah.
Your face looks in pain. Are you?
I've been driving all day.
That's true. You're like, it is in pain. Okay.
I do think we need to recognize Board Member Morgan, who has driven in from Carlsbad to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a long day. Very
Yeah,
long
it is
day.
a very long day.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for everyone for sitting through our calendaring. But we've been
Hey,
having-
President Galbraith?
Yes.
Might I ask the board, the registration just opened for the school law conference,
Okay.
which is June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. The 4th, I think, till noon. Can you all, just by a show of hands, give me some idea of who's planning to attend that?
I'm tentative.
Okay. And Jeff's thinking, okay. So Gary, Amanda, Jessica, Noreen, maybe. Jeff is
He'll get back.
Jeff is tired.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep in mind all these trainings from New Mexico school boards, we do not have to attend every single one of them. So don't feel that if your schedule is booked, there will be other trainings that come up. This is the school law conference. So, or the law conference, right? So, okay. All right. So I'm going to read a couple of these dates out and then we'll get anything else on planning before. Okay.
just a comment, we really, with the board retreat, we do need everybody to be here.
Yeah.
It's just so important. And so hopefully we can find that time that everyone can be here. The other just quick reminder, I think everybody's okay, But if you're not, you do have the mandated requirements for training for all school board members in New Mexico. And it's not a lot of hours, but just be sure that you've got your hours before the end of the year.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Good. Okay. So I will read through a few of these dates. So we have coming up, we have a very, very full calendar. So we have April 12th, the Rio Rancho High School Crimson Dinner. That's at 5:30 in the Rio Rancho High School cafeteria. If anyone's planning to do that, please make sure you let, to let Claudia know. Okay. So April 13th is the Finance Committee meeting over budget and procurement. That will be at 4:00. Also on the 13th, there's a NMSBA region meeting at 5:30. That will be at Bernalillo High School. April 15th, it's a vernal holiday. There will be no school. April 18th, Finance Committee meeting at 4 p.m. It will be a budget review. And then April 19th, just like with the Crimson, please let them know if you're planning on going. Rio Rancho High School Phoenix Dinner, that will be at 5:30 in the Rio Rancho High School cafeteria. And then, goodness, it just keeps going. I'll read this last one will be April 20th. Trying to find a good break. April 20th will be a strategic planning focus group. One of those, there's a series of those. Each of you have had the opportunity to decide which one to go to. So that first one will be at 4:30 here in this training center. So with that, our meeting is adjourned for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was trying to find a good place to stop, and I'm like,
Yeah.
one day after the other.
It goes on and on and on.